In this video, I'm gonna show you how I would completely retouch this photo in Photoshop 2024. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me yet, my name is Silvia. I am a maternity photographer. In this channel, I talk about editing techniques to help you make more money with your photos. Now, let's get into the video. When you're working on a photo, it's really important that you have a workflow, or what I mean by that, it's like a process that you go through each photo. So you know what you're working on, which technique you're gonna do first, second, third. So you are a little bit like faster in your editing process. So for every photo, what I like to do first is to work on the luminosity. So I'm thinking all about the lighting of my photo, and then I try to correct the color of the photo. Now, all the part of the color grading and everything, I do it less on Photoshop. I like to start in Lightroom, and everything that I'm gonna be doing here, I can actually do on Photoshop. So because I said that I'm working the photo on Photoshop, I'm actually gonna open this photo the way that it is in Photoshop. And right there in Photoshop, let me just go and do this. Right here in Photoshop, we can go to the camera raw, and everything that I work here, you can work on Lightroom. So I start my process on Lightroom of the color correction and lighting correction, and then I actually open my photo in Photoshop, where I start my retouching process, a little bit more advanced process. So what I would do first, like I said, I would work with my lighting. So I would go up a little bit with the exposure, not too much. I like my blacks not to be too black, so I'm gonna go up with the blacks as well. And I'm gonna go up with the shadows because I wanna bring just a little bit of light to the shadows here. And I'm gonna even go a little bit more up with the exposure. I like to go down with the whites also because I can see that here is getting really bright. And for right now that I'm correcting the light, I'm not trying to create contrast with my photo. I'm just trying to have a really good balance with the lighting. And it's easier as well to retouch the skin if you don't have high contrast on your luminosity right away. So the contrast is something that I like to do later. And I'm gonna go down with my highlights a little bit. And now let's go to colors, and I'm gonna adjust the temperature a little bit because I don't think it is quite perfect. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of blue, not too much, like this. And I think that vibrance and tint is good. Now I'm gonna go to the color mix, and I'm just gonna adjust and again correct a little bit of the colors. So I'm gonna go to the oranges that it's affecting my body, mainly affects a little bit of the background, but I'm gonna be thinking about my body. So let me just adjust the color here just a little bit. I like to go to the right and left and see how I feel about it. I don't like the orange to be too much orangish. I like a little bit more yellowish. So I'm gonna just go a little bit to the right. And I'm gonna go to the saturation. I'm just gonna remove a little bit of the saturation, not too much. I think now it's better. I can see that the reds, I'm gonna be using a lot of reds here in this part of my body, like on the shadows. So I'm just gonna, let me go back. I'm just gonna remove a little bit of the saturation because I think that it's too saturated right there. This is good. So as you can see, I'm not moving a lot, right? I'm just doing small corrections. And let me see with the blue. I like the blue going towards the cyan a little bit more. And I think we do not have aqua. So saturation, I think that it looks pretty good. Overall, the image is looking pretty good. And just the yellow. The yellow is gonna affect the wall here, the background. I'm gonna do this yellow a little bit more green because I think that it's how it actually is. I'm gonna remove a little bit of the saturation of it. And I think that we are good. This is the before and this is the after. We have done a lot so far. So I'm gonna hit OK. And now the first thing that I like to do is actually start working on the skin. So I'm gonna use one of the actions that I already have here, and I'm just gonna work on the skin. I don't like to make it too blurry or a fake skin. I still like to have a little bit of skin texture and seeing that it's a little bit natural. So I'm gonna try here to not remove too much of the skin, because the skin is already looking pretty good. There's not too much to work on. And again, you don't want to remove the shadows and the highlights of the skin. You just want the skin to be smoother, but still keeping the highlights and the shadows and the middle tones and all the luminosity. I like to make this part here a little bit softer on the feet, and that's good. So let's go to the rest of the body. That's not a lot to do, even more because the photo is not like a close-up photo. But you want to make sure that you're working in all of the body and not just on the face. So I'm gonna remove this kind of line here just a little bit. And don't forget the neck as well. So I'm removing a little bit of the line of the neck, just to make it a little bit less intense, less visible, but you still want to keep a little bit of the light there. And now going to the face. I'm gonna remove this part here, this mark. Just fixing the makeup as well. And the movements that you do when you are using the frequency separation. So this is a technique that I'm using right now for the skin retouch. And I like to go into circles here on the face, just to make small circles, because then it's easier for you to still keep the lighting on the face. You just want to make smoother the transition between the lighting, between the middle tones, between the shadows and the lighter part. That's what you're trying to do. Gonna work here on the lips as well. And of course that you can adjust the luminosity as well on your photos when you're doing the frequency separation. I want to adjust just a little bit here. And I think this is really good. Let me see. Let me visualize now with the texture. And here's the before and here's the after, before and after, before and after. And I think that this is looking pretty good. Now I'm gonna go and actually I am gonna correct the colors of my skin, because I think that there is some color here on the shadows that it's still a little bit saturated. So what I want to do is to create a gradient map. And I'm gonna create this gradient map here in between the tones and in between the texture, because now I'm working with the color, so I'm working with the tones. And I'm gonna choose a skin color that I already like for my photos. I think I want a little bit more intense. Let me see how it's going to work. I'm gonna change the blending mode to color, and I'm gonna lower the opacity and just slightly increase the opacity. What I'm gonna do first actually is to select here my body first. This is awesome. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the gradient map. I am going to press Command I, and now I removed the part that I actually want the color, so I'm gonna press Command I again on the mask, and let's start visualizing the photo. So now we're gonna have a better idea of how it looks. I think that color that I selected is getting very intense. So what I'm going to do is to actually go back here, and I'm gonna choose another color that I already have pre-made. I like this one. Okay, so here's before and after. I don't know if you can see very well from there, but let me increase all the way and you're gonna be able to see the color. And I'm gonna decrease and slightly just go up with the color. And here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. I think it's looking good. Pretty good. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is to work with the dodge and burn. So I want to intensify a little bit more of the contour and how the lighting is hitting the body, the face. I'm gonna use another action that I have here for dodge and burn. I'm gonna lower my brush to 3. I'm gonna start with the dodge, and I'm just gonna bring a little bit of the intensity of the light here on the face. And I'm gonna do just a little bit inside of the eye. Here on the makeup. It is a very natural look. There's no makeup, actually, not a lot of makeup going on here. It's a natural, very natural style of photo that we did. And I'm gonna go on the lips as well. Just intensifying the lighting. And now I'm gonna go with the dodge, and I'm gonna do the opposite and make it a little bit darker. And I'm gonna make this part here darker as well, the double chin. Now I'm gonna go in the whole body, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I think I'm gonna increase a little bit of the opacity to 5, and we have this beautiful lighting here on the side, and we also have here on the clothing. And now I'm gonna go back to burn and just intensify a little bit more of the darker areas. I can also go to dodge again and just make it lighter on the hair. And let's see how it's looking so far. So here's the before and here's the after, before and after. I think I can intensify a little bit more. I really like this intense like luminosity on the body and on the face. So you can go with as much as you like. I think I kind of like this glow. So here's the before and after, before and after, the before with everything and after. If I'm feeling, sometimes I like to actually use another dodge and burn, and this one is just by creating one layer and having an overlay blending mode. And you use the brush, you're going to use white and black to intensify even more the dodge and burn in your photo. I really like to use this one as well to make even more intense in a few parts. I use a lot on the face. I think that looks pretty cool. And normally I would use where you would use the highlighter in with the makeup when you're doing the makeup. So now I'm intensifying the makeup here. And look the before and after. It's very different, it's very intense, and I love this intensity and this glow. So if you do like it, you feel free to do it as well. Here's the before and after so far. It gives more a magazine style for me, so that's why I like it. Now I'm gonna put everything in one layer. So I'm gonna press Command Option Shift E, and this is now all together in one layer. And what I'm going to do is to work on the details. So right now in the background, so let me actually rename just to background. I'm gonna go to the patch tool and I'm gonna remove the distractions here. Let's see if this will do the trick. Perfect. I got a little bit of a blur here, so I'm gonna go with the stamp tool and I'm just gonna fix this part. Perfect. And right now I'm gonna do the same thing with these other things here on the wall. So let me just take a look around, see if there is anything else that I'm missing. So just cleaning the background a little bit. Okay, another thing that I want to fix here now, I'm gonna duplicate this layer and I'm gonna retype to hair. I'm gonna fix a little bit of this hair here that I do not like. So I'm gonna use the stamp tool for that. I'm gonna lower the opacity. And I'm just gonna clean a little bit of this part of the hair. I don't mind if it's messy like here, but I don't like this part here. I think that it doesn't look very good or very cool, so I'm just gonna remove a little bit. I think this part too. Okay, the idea is to still look a little bit messy, so I'm gonna leave everything how it is. Now, let me see here. I'm gonna press Command J to duplicate the layer, and I'm gonna go to the Liquify tool. So press Command Shift X and the liquefied program is open. So I just want to do minor fixing here as well. I'm just gonna reduce a little bit of the arm, nothing too much. And I'm gonna go down a little bit with the shoulder, give more neck to feel like it is less tense. There's not a lot to fix here. I'm gonna do a little bit more of fixing with the hair though. I'm gonna just do a little bit more volume here with the hair. And here as well. I think it's looking good. Let's see here, before and after. Before and after, this is good. So I'm gonna hit OK, before and after. So it's just giving a better shape overall in the photo. Another thing that I'm gonna do right now is to work a little bit with the colors. So I'm gonna put everything all together here, the layers. Press Command G and create a folder. And I'm gonna type details. And one thing that I wanna work with is the lips. I feel like it doesn't have a lot of color, so I'm just gonna add a touch of the color. I'm gonna go to Hue Saturation. I'm gonna hit Colorize. I am gonna press the selection tool here, the quick selection tool. I'm gonna make a selection here of the lips. It's okay if it's not perfect, so you can fix that later. And I'm gonna go back to the mask, press delete, and now the color is in the opposite of what I want, so I'm gonna press Command I, and now the color is exactly on the lips. So now I'm gonna get the brush tool, I'm gonna go 100 of opacity, and I'm gonna get closer, and I'm just gonna paint the lips. Okay, I think this is good enough. So let's just choose a color. Let me get a little bit further away. Let's just choose a color that it's good. I'm gonna go 100% with the opacity so I can see the color. And actually, I can even make it better, the selection here right now. I can make it a little bit smoother as well, the edge. Okay, so now let's pick a color. I think red is good. Let me go back with the saturation and let's slowly increase the saturation here. And maybe change the hue. Yeah. So let me go back. Let me remove the saturation a little bit. Before and after. I'm gonna change the blending mode here to actually color. Before and after, and this is looking good. Okay, I think this is good. I'm gonna just remove a part here that's from the lips. Oops. go back to the mask, have the brush. Okay. I think it's looking good. Just to give a little bit of color to the lips. I'm gonna remove a little bit of the color in the eye here because I think that it's too yellow. So I'm gonna go to hue saturation and I'm going to go up with the hue. Okay, it wasn't working for a second. I'm gonna hide the mask. I'm gonna get the brush, have the white color, and I'm just gonna paint here where I want this to be added. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna remove a little bit of the saturation from the eyes. And I'm gonna just go a little bit lighter, not too much because this part is still in the shadows. So this part here, you don't want it to have a lot of light. It doesn't make sense. So just removing the color. Here's the before and here's the after. Now I'm just gonna adjust here. I'm gonna adjust here the mask. And I think this is looking good. I'm gonna put both of them in a folder. Color correction. And this one is lips. This one is eyes. If in this case the model was smiling or something, I would remove the yellow colors of the teeth and make a little bit whiter as well. I think this is looking good. I think I'm gonna change a little bit of the color here on the lips. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. Okay, this is good. So before and after, and I'm gonna reduce a little bit of the opacity of the lips color. So I'm gonna go to 0. And then I'm gonna start increasing the opacity a little bit. Okay, I think that 50 is good. So before and after. And this is already making a huge difference in our photo. Look at this. Now, another thing that I'm going to do is to work with the color. I already have a color grading that I like for my photos, so I'm going to be using the gradient map, and I'm gonna use one of the colors that I've created for myself. I think I really like this one. I want something a little bit less saturated. I like this one and I like this one. I think I'm gonna go with this one first and see how it works. So I'm just gonna change the blending mode to soft light. And of course that it's very intense, so I'm gonna lower the opacity to 0, and slowly I'm just gonna start increasing the color. And you can tell that it's already working with the luminosity as well of the photo. So it's creating more contrast to the photo. Another thing that we can do is to go to the selective colors. I like sometimes to do that. And now you can work with each color individually. I think I wanna just add a little bit of color to the body. So I'm gonna use the red here, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of red. not too much because I don't want it to be too saturated. Now I'm gonna go to the yellows, and you can just move around to see where it's working. Normally you're gonna see a lot of yellows on the body as well. So I'm going to light up a little bit of the yellows. And I'm gonna go back to the reds and make the reds just slightly darker. This is the before and this is the after. Is like a very light change, but that it makes a difference. I like to work with the black as well sometimes, and I like to remove a little bit of the black and make the photo a little bit more with the matte or like that old style. So I removed a little bit of the black, and sometimes I like to add some coloring to the dark areas. And I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to the shadows and a little bit of cyan as well, not too much. I'm gonna put all of them into a folder. I'm gonna write color grading. Another thing that I want to do is that I don't like this yellow tone of the wall. So I'm gonna remove a little bit of that color from the wall. I'm gonna make a selection here with the quick selection tool. Gonna remove the pillows. I think this is good. I'm gonna create a hue and saturation, and I'm just going to remove a little bit of that color on the back. And make it a little bit darker as well. I can adjust the color here as well. But I think just removing a little bit of that color and make it a little bit darker is already good. So here's the before and here's the after. Another thing that I like to do is to work with the lighting now. One quick tool that I love using is to actually create a black and white layer like this one, and I like to create some contrast here. Look, this is beautiful. I like to make the reds a little bit darker and the yellows a little bit lighter, and this is a beautiful luminosity. And I changed the blending mode to soft light, but you can play around and see what works best for you or what you like. Now I'm gonna lower the opacity to 0, and I'm just slowly increasing the opacity. I think 10% is good. So here's the before and here's the after so far. We can add so many other things as well. You can go to the color balance and actually tweak more of the colors in the shadows, middle tones, and highlights. So let's say that in the shadows, I want to make a little bit more blue and cyan. I think that's gonna look very cool, even more with the jeans. And now on the highlights, I wanna go back with a little bit more warmth. So I'm gonna do a little bit yellow and more red. But I still wanna keep a little bit of like that blue tone. So in the middle tones, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna add again the cyan and the blue. So let me go to the highlights again and add more yellow and a little bit more red. And on the shadows, we can intensify even more Now we have a totally different color grading, and it looks very good for the composition here, for the material, for the style of photo. It's something that's not like very saturated, but we have that blue and teal on the highlights, so you can see what works better. You can also change the blending mode to soft light, or you can change to color, and then you're not playing as much with the contrast, color, and you're not playing as much with the contrast. You're just doing like adjusting the color, which it looks pretty cool. So this is with the color blending mode, and here is the normal blending mode, where you're gonna be creating a little bit of contrast in the photo. Another thing that's pretty cool that you can do as well, sometimes I do that, is to create a gradient layer, and we're gonna create an effect for the eyes of the person that's looking to the photo to go towards what you want. In my case here, it would be the face of the model. So I can create like this white layer. I can press OK, and now I can change the blending mode to screen, so it's just making things lighter. And I'm gonna reduce the opacity to 0, and slowly just increase this opacity. And now I'm bringing the attention to here, because here's heavier than right down here. So this is something that you can do. Another thing that you can also do is, instead of using the white color here, you can use a color from the photo. So I would choose like a kind of a blue. And now it's not white, it has a little bit of color, and this is really good. Or you can choose the color of the skin. So instead of that, here, color, and let's pick something that's on the skin. This looks pretty good as well. It just gives a different feeling, a little bit more warm. Another thing that you can do is, instead of using a layer like this, like the liner style, you would go, let me go back to the white, because I think that we can see the white better. Let me just go with the opacity 100, and yeah, 100, and let me change the style to radial. So now it's a circle, and what you can do is, if you notice the photo, the lighting is coming through the right, so you can just add this light here. Let me go back, I thought that I put a white. Let me go to white, perfect. And you can put this lighting right here. You can make it bigger, so if you go to the scale and you make it like bigger number, you're gonna make even bigger light, and you can just leave it here. I think that here's pretty good. I'm gonna hit OK, so we are already on the blending mode screen. I would just lower the opacity and slightly just go up with the opacity, and it gives a pretty cool effect, just like the lighting from the window is just hitting a little bit more, and it's getting to the camera a little bit as well. And I think that that looks beautiful, and you can just move around to see where you kind of want the effect to be. I think here, when it gets on the face a little bit, looks perfect. And I think that I'm gonna leave like this, and you can see the color grading that you prefer, that you like. I like a little bit warmer, but I think that this cool color that we created with this effect coming from the window looks pretty good. So I would just leave it like this. I can even go to the highlights and make it just a little bit warmer. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, I think that this is looking pretty good. Just to finish, I'm gonna put everything in a folder here, color correction, color grading. I'm just gonna put everything here into a folder. I'm gonna say lighting plus effect. And another thing, the last thing that I would do to the photo is actually to do some sharpening. So I already have an action for that as well. So I'm gonna create a sharpening volume, and I'm just gonna apply to where I want this to be sharp and where I want people to look when they are seeing the photo. So for me, it would be on the face. So I would go with my brush here, opacity 100 and white color here, and I would just paint the face. And I'm gonna do opacity 100% here. So this is the before, this is the after. Let me get closer so you can see a little bit more. Before and after, before and after. So you just gave a little bit of sharpening to the face, which is great. And here's the before and after overall, before and after. Click the like button if you like the results. Now you know how to complete edit your photos in Photoshop, which will give your photos a better quality of work. And this is important if you want to get paid more. If you want to know other ways to improve your skills to make more money with photos, check out my latest video here on the screen, and also subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every week. For now, this is everything. I hope this video was really helpful. Until next time.